you doing? It's Sandesh here, and I'm here to do a video on an article on sparkedonline.com, and it's called Gareth Southgate's Culture War. Um, I don't know what to make about this headline or the article itself because I haven't read it yet, but um, and we'll see what happens. I'll give you my views on it after I've finished reading it. Before getting to the article, if you could follow me on X and subscribe on YouTube, Rumble and Odyssey as well, if you don't mind, please. Here we go. As widely expected, England football manager Gareth Southgate has stepped down after his team's second consecutive European Championship final defeat on Sunday. The abiding image of his 8 years in charge will not be his energetically awkward celebrations after England beat Colombia on penalties at the 2018 World Cup. It won't even be his magnanimous embrace of triumph at Spain manager Luis de la Fuente after England's defeat in this week's final. No, it will be the sight of Southgate after the dismal 0-0 draw with Slovenia last month, marching purposely towards the England fans as they flung choice words and empty beer cups his way. Yeah, I remember that. He tried to, I think he tried to embrace them, and they were just getting annoyed. It's an image that captures the antagonism that categorises his time as manager, not just the antagonism between Southgate's dub brand or uber defensive football and the demands of fans for something vaguely uplifting. After all, countless England managers before Southgate have faced the wrath of the fans for terrible performances. The much-loved Bobby Robson was barricaded by fans after a 2-0 loss to the USSR in 1984, and again after 3 years straight defeats at Euro 88. Even Terry Venables fondly remembers for his side's daring do at Euro 96 came in for considerable flack in the run-up to that now nostalgia-soaked tournament. No, it's an image that captures something more, something specific about the Southgate era, not just the sporting failure, but also the politically charged and cultural antagonism between Southgate and the fans. The conflict between these smartly dressed representatives of the new elites and those sweary England supporters between, as our media elites have it, the handsome middle-aged man and the ugly, unruly masses, between Southgate and the righteous right-on missionary and the barbaric flag-wearing natives. In many ways, this conflict has been a long time coming. Ever since the middle-class colonialisation of football during the 1990s, the beautiful game has often found itself being used as a vehicle to educate, enlighten and discipline its supposed backward, still largely working-class fans. Professional players have been asked to double up as so-called role models, and the game as a whole has frequently served as a site for an assortment of awareness-raising campaigns and identitarian crusades. Yet the manager of the national team had largely confined himself to, well, managing a football team. The likes of Sven-Goran Eriksson, Steve McLaren and Fabio Capello showed zero interest in espousing their political views, which is probably just as well given Capello's admiration for General Franco, the likeable erudite Roy Hodgson, who was England's manager when Brits voted to leave the EU in June 2016. He even kept his counsel during the febrile days. I mean, half these words that this guy's using, despite constant pressing from the media. Yeah, Fabio Capello didn't last, not because he wasn't a good manager. He was a great manager. The problem was, I mean, the players were just complaining about him, which I don't understand why. He was apparently too strict. Just stupid nonsense. But now thinking about it, yeah, they kept the politics out of it because politics has no place for the game of football. But this all changed with the appointment of Southgate in the autumn of 2016. The then England under-21s manager was initially only given the job on a temporary basis after his predecessor Sam Alardis, I think that's what it says, had suddenly resigned after just 67 days in charge, following a newspaper sting in which he was recorded boasting about getting around rules on player transfers while seamlessly drinking a pint of wine. With the demeanour of a trendy vicar and bereft of any hint of scandal, Southgate no doubt appeared to the English Football Association after Big Sam's indiscretions, and so following a few decent results, Southgate was given the job full-time in November 2016. Yes, Southgate's got no personality or anything. He just seems, he just comes off so plain, like a pack of plain salted crisps, to be honest. Right from the start of his tenure, Southgate struck a different tone to his predecessors. While they kept their political views largely hidden, Southgate seemed only too happy to give his on airing. He wasn't alone, of course. The vote for Brexit was just months earlier, prompting many among our cultural and political elites to vent their loathing of the masses. Still, it was something of a surprise to hear the England football manager so happily echo these prejudices. At his first press conference as permanent England manager in March 2017, he said that English football had to get off the island and learn from elsewhere. He spoke as if he was not just trying to improve a football team but correct society too. Unsurprisingly, the Remainder-dominated media quickly warmed to Southgate. At last, it seemed they had one of their own in charge of the England national team. No, he wasn't so-called in charge of the team. He was just picked there by the FA as their face for the England football team. That's what he was picked for. His talk of throwing off the small-minded island outlook feels appropriate, remarked the Independent at the time, calling it a statement for the Brexit age as if there was one. Southgate continued in his Brexit baiting vein in the run-up to the World Cup in Russia in 2018. In one football podcast, he seemed keen to present his England team more as a riposte to Brexit than as a realistic contender for the World Cup. He talked up its diversity is so utterly unremarkable for England teams, waxed lyrical about the progressiveness of young people. Yeah, you know what? I'm starting to understand where this article is coming from, because if he's talking about like diversity and progressive crap, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised that he was pandering to the woke army, let's say. At the same time, he contrasted with all this with a vision of England supposedly animating the vote to leave the EU, not pining for something that isn't there anymore, as he put it at the time. We're a team with our diversity and our youth that represents modern England, he asserted. The implication was clear. Older Brexit voters represented an out-of-date England. Later that year, Southgate was more explicit still about what he had driven the vote to leave the EU. He told an ITV4 documentary that he thought the undertones of voting on Brexit were racial undertones. Jesus Christ. I reckon it's a case of two things. One, he believed it, and two, he was told to say half this stuff. The more Southgate spoke like this, the more he rehearsed broadsheet prejudices about the Brexit vote in public. The more Britain's media and cultural elites started to champion him, fetishize him. I'm sorry about that. It's just that I can't pronounce it. Can't pronounce that word properly. Fetishized, I think that's what it says. He stopped being media football manager. He was becoming a combatant in the elite cultural war against the vast against the vast of British society. I'll just say like that. Yeah, he should have just stuck to being a football manager, just concentrate on the game, but I guess that's not what they really wanted him for. He was playing his own unique role in casting their views and values as wrong, bigoted and worse. A piece in the New Statesman from June 2018 captured, well, the cultural elite embrace of Southgate. After the bitterness and divisions of the Brexit referendum, Mr. Southgate has shown a different face to the world, what we might even call the beginnings of a new progressive Englishness. This new progressive Englishness, or progressive patriotism, as it is often called, was supposed to strike a contrast with the regular patriotism, as one Southgate loving leftist um, fancifully put it. At the time, the England manager was taking on the right wing xenophobes keen to make the St George's Cross a symbol of white nationalism. Not shut up. This was who the whole elites were pitching the all too witting Southgate into battling against, not white nationalists who are a minuscule racist fringe at this point, but against those ordinary English people who demonize who are routinely demonised as racists, those who might not flinch at the sight of a St George's Cross, those who might vote to Brexit, those, that is, who make up a large part of England's football fan base. It is clear that from very early on his tenure, Southgate was increasingly being lionised by the media precisely because he was opposed to the views and values of the average football fan, precisely because he was prepared to indulge, no matter how gently, in the elite stigmatism, I think that's what it says, of vast swathes of the public. He allowed the media to cast the replica shirt-wearing fans as villains to his waistcoat-wearing hero. By the time a pandemic-delayed Euro 2020 came around in 2021, the cultural antagonism between the elite-backed Southgate and the plebeian fans was more explicit than ever. Southgate's slights against Brexit had given way in the aftermath of the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020 to more explicit accusations that fans were racist. Back in 2018, Southgate had merely suggested that there were racial undertones to the vote to leave the EU. By the summer 2020, he was happily talking in the language of critical race theory and demanding an end to white privilege of football. What the fuck? There are a lot of uncomfortable discussions to be held with white people, he said at the time. You're white? What the hell? What's this bullshit you're talking about? Oh, white privilege of football, white people. You're white yourself. And nearly all your players are white on the England football team, so shut up. Matters came to a head during the warm-up matches for Euro 2020 in June 2021. For the best part of a year, Premier League footballers had been taken in the knee in support of Black Lives Matter before matches. It was always a gesture that was going to irritate a lot of fans, not because they are racist, but because they don't want to be lectured to by multimillionaires implying that they are racist, and because they had to come to learn that Black Lives Matter was not the noble anti-racist group the media had led us to believe it was. You're damn fucking right it wasn't. The players and the league had only been able to get away with this insulting visual sickening for so long because, thanks to COVID, the stadiums had largely been free of fans. But that wasn't the case by the time England came to play their 2 pre-tournament matches in Middlesbrough that June. And so each time the players indulged their kneeling ritual before game, they were greeted by a chorus of boos and jeers from the crowd. Southgate was outraged. Oh yeah, too fucking bad, you dickhead. I'm so glad he's gone. But the problem is, the next one who they're gonna get, who the FA are gonna get, I guarantee you, they're gonna want it to be just like Southgate. He took fans' objections to being educated by footballers as a personal affront. We feel more than ever determined to take the knee during this tournament, he said after the first bout of booing. Seemingly convinced that he was now more statesman than sportsman, Southgate then decided that he needed to address the nation. The result was his Dear England letter, a masterclass in condensation and woke sanctimony, referencing abusive messages sent to players on social media. Southgate told fans, I have some bad news. You're on the losing side. The awareness around inequality and the discussions on race have gone to a different level in the past 12 months alone, he continued. I am confident that young kids of today will grow up baffled by old attitudes and ways of thinking. I doubt it all young kids are thinking that. Maybe some of them because they got brainwashed, thinking that the old thing and being forced to think like that. Not all of them will. No way. It's difficult to overstate just how remarkable this intervention was from the England football manager. He was setting himself up and setting himself and the England team against a lot of football fans. Indeed, against all those who disagree with BLM and Black Lives Matter, and the assumption that we live in a structurally racist society awash with white privilege. He was identifying himself and his team with progressive with the right side of history, and therefore damning restive fans as reactionary, as being on the wrong side of history. Dear England was a cliche-ridden exercise in the elite and demonisation of the football supporting masses. Little wonder Britain's cultural elites, their snobbery supercharged by the Brexit vote and Boris Johnson's general election victory, absolutely loved it. Dear England turned Southgate into the poster boy for the right thinking, the hero for wokish, centrist bores across the land. Historian David Alusolga praised the England manager for taking on the toxic racism and swaggering hyper-nationalism, for fuck's sake, that has been for decades accrued around the English game and grown deeper in recent months. Future Prime Minister Keir Starmer simply tweeted in response, "This is England." No, it isn't. Some even said that Southgate's letter was up there with the founding event of the centrist dadism, the 2012 London Olympic opening ceremony. That was quite the accolade. The reputation of Dear England and Southgate himself was consolidated by what happened after the Euro 2020 final defeat to Italy. The three black English players who missed penalties, Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho and Bukayo Saka, were seemingly subject to a torrent of racial hatred on social media. More shocking still, it was reported that a mural of Rashford in Manchester had been defaced with racial abuse. It all seemed to confirm the dystopian of portrait Southgate and those cheering him on had been painting of racism, BLM booing England fans, and broader post-Brexit society. Southgate quickly addressed the nation again, calling the abuse unforgivable and describing the England team as a beacon of light in the darkness. The only problem with all this was that the abuse and the mural defacement were not what they were hyped up to be. After an extensive investigation by the UK Football Policy Unit, it turned out that just 34 racist messages from 34 accounts had been sent after the final from within the UK. I knew it. Race, as far as races go, I mean they're not a big sector of the group. They're a small sector of the group. It's just that their voice is loud sometimes. But it doesn't mean to say it's just a big sector of the whole world. No, it isn't. That's 34 too many, but it's hardly enough to tar fans as a swaggering racist horde. The vast majority of the abuse had come from trolls overseas. Furthermore, it emerged that while the Rashford mural graffiti was certainly post-watershed, it wasn't racist. Someone had written, "Shite in a bucket bastard," with a cock and balls pointing at Rashford's mouth. It was standard football fanfare. It was most likely written by a Man City fan, bitter rivals to Rashford's Man City, given it was in Man City light blue. Police soon made clear the motivation wasn't racial, but no one was listening, and another myth was born. Facts didn't matter to those convinced that Britain was heading to a post-Brexit hell in handcar, and eager to think the worst of their fellow citizens against the hysterical background of seemingly rising racism. The Dear England letter cemented Southgate's role in the cultural war. He was now firmly on the side of Britain's cultural elites against the fans, conceived as a proxy for the racism-riddled Brexit and Tory voting demos. Indeed, so important was his letter for the elites a sanctification of Southgate that has even formed the basis for a cringe stage play, Dear England, which the BBC, who else, is currently turning into a 4-part drama. Oh yeah, I heard about that. In many ways, 2021 was peak Southgate. He managed to thoroughly integrate himself with Britain's smart set. They were busy laudering him, writing columns, celebrating him, penning plays, mythologizing him. Sorry about that. Not because of his team's relevant success reaching the final in Euro 2020, but because of his role in the broader cultural war against fans and the public, because of his willingness to strike the virtuous pose, his eagerness to hype up the alleged bigotry of those who paid to watch the tedious fare his team served up. He had demonstrated just how willingly he was to front up the latest elite crusade from BLM to trans rights against the supposed backwards masses forever cast as being in the wrong. And it worked for a while until the 2020 World Cup in Qatar. That is, not only did England themselves flatter to deceive before being beaten by the first decent team they faced, France, in the quarterfinals, but Southgate's woke posturing was also exposed for the performative, hypercritical charade it always was. Having spent previous 4 years castigating England fans' alleged bigotry, Southgate struggled when confronted by the actual institution discrimination practices practiced in Qatar. That is a place where people are punished for homosexuality, where migrant workers are subjected to genuinely racist and exploitative labour laws. But there was no Dear Qatar letter this time. Instead, Southgate claimed that migrant workers, countless number of who had died during the construction of the World Cup stadia, want the football to come to Qatar because they love it. Fuck you. Much to the consternation of assorted NGOs, England even dropped plans to wear pro-LGBT One Love armbands for fear of upsetting the local authorities or being punished by FIFA. Why? Why the hell would you even consider wearing those armbands? What the fuck? Southgate's aggressive virtual signalling so easy in Britain, where it is effectively backed by the ruling elites, proved impossible in Qatar. That World Cup host cost him dearly, not just the support of fans, tired of the crap football and constant demonisation. He also lost the full throttle support of the woke who accused him and the FA of timidity. Suddenly, in their eyes, the knee-taking hero of Euro 2020 appeared as a mere mortal after all. Southgate remained one of their own to the last, though. Hence, throughout this European Championship, England fans have been under attack from the media and beyond for criticising Southgate for tiring of the endless defensive reactive football, leavened only by luck and a few moments of individual brilliance. We've been told again and again just how successful England have been under Southgate, and more than that, we've been told again and again just what a good virtuous man Southgate is, and just how bad and uncouth the fans are. It's as if Southgate is too good for us, as if we don't deserve it. Indeed, ahead of Sunday's final, an Observer columnist wrote that the real gift we should be all grateful for, win or lose, is leadership of this emotional timber. This was a telling of directed at those who just weeks earlier had flung their beer cup criticism towards Southgate after he managed England's stars to that 0-0 draw with the less than mighty Slovenia, and admonishment to all those moved to boo Southgate for the tedious football his team had unfailingly delivered. Be grateful, fans were told, not for Southgate, the football manager, but for Southgate, the leader. And that's the problem. Those who have been hectored, branded deplorable by Southgate, those who were said are on the wrong side of history, don't want a leader. They just want to watch the England football team have a goal rather than the England team have a go at them. Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. No, I can't. I didn't even know that about Southgate, and when he first took on the role as manager, that he was just nothing but a mouthpiece for the elites. I genuinely did not know that. He was just nothing but a pandering fucking idiot. But I'm so glad he's gone. But the problem is, the next one's going to be just the same, or better yet, even worse. You know what? Now thinking about it, it wouldn't surprise me if now they get a woman, especially since they're going to push all this woke shit on us. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please like, comment, subscribe on this video. And if you could follow me on X and YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey and TikTok as well, if you don't mind, please. And thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.